I say, I don't trust Maraga because he knows. It's not a rumor. You don't just know somebody is corrupt one day. People knew Ahmed was corrupt for a very long time. They didn't tell us. We didn't know as clients.
I think even that's the reason why Bulim get, because he knows how to win cases.
Yeah.
And
advertised as so. Kumbe, he's there to rob you. He's not there to win you cases. He's there he does this PR. He's a PR machine. Like, oh, I fight for the small guy. I fight for justice. That's my feeling.
Okay.
So my issue now is with Ahmed. Started with Ahmednasir Abdullahi. So my dad owns a company. And he's one of 4 director shareholders in this company. And in this company was his late mother. So it is my dad. My dad is called Daniel Mwangi Mbogwa. His brother is called Isaac Ishia Mbogwa. The third born son, Joseph Mbai Mbogwa, the fifth born son. And then there was my grandmother, Christine Medere Mbogwa. So the company is called Dunde Investments Limited. Right? So my dad was one of those people. I've grown up in a family. I don't know if you know what it feels like to be the poor people in the family. We were the poor ones in the family and we could not understand why. So my grandfather bequeathed wealth to his 3 sons and my grandmother and put that wealth in a company. And company law doesn't work like your personal assets. There are procedures that you have to follow. Even if you want to open a bank account, you have to have signatories and stuff like that. So my dad has an eyesight problem. He's also unwell. So when they went to open the bank statement, he said, the bank accounts, he said, I have an eyesight problem and my mother is also unwell and she needs treatment. We'll give signing powers to 2 of the directors. Those 2 directors started selling assets. They put the money in the accounts. Then they're the ones who can control. My dad couldn't even get bank statements. These people sold assets worth hundreds of millions. My dad got 500,000 shillings. So I told my dad, because he finally explained to me after I was done with uni. This was like in 2015. He now came and showed me. And I told him, what is this company you're showing me? He showed me the land that it owns. I looked at him, I said, Bona sisi tumelala njaa. Umelewa. I said, why is it that we're the ones who have slept hungry if you own all of this and it's in a company? He told me, I'm the firstborn son, which means I'm their father, which means technically I can't talk about it, Kikuyu tradition. You keep quiet and you figure out how to deal with it internally. And my dad ended up being an alcoholic and he drank for 18 years of my life, trying to just suppress that information. And so when he gave me the documents, I told him, bro, I don't owe your brothers anything. I said, those are my uncles who are technically in tradition, my fathers as well. The fact that they thought I should not have school fees, me and my siblings should not have school fees or food or medical or even you, so they can go spend money in bars. I told him, wacha tupeleka hawa to court. So my grandmother was unwell and my dad said, I'm not going to take my mom to court. And understandably so. I think it's very difficult for any African to sue their parents. Heri mukosane, musionane, lakini kumpeleka kotini. I think it's unheard of. I've never heard of an African suing their mother or father, actually. So he had refused and I totally understood. So even me being educated was my mom. She got a job in the UN. She had to work in foreign countries for us to get an education. So I said, I don't think this makes sense. My dad said, he was so beaten down. Did you come on when I'm say hana hope?
Yes.
Hakuwa na hope. He even told me, let me give you my power of attorney. You do what you can. That's how he was sure he was not going to get anything out of the judicial system, out of lawyers. I told him, I said, vitu tumebadilika. We have a 2010 constitution. Things have changed in this country. So we hired a law firm first called Rachi and Amolo. And then we realized, we paid these guys upfront walikuwa na cheza ku take our files to court. And then when the other side comes with ufala, they were not really saying much. They would allow it. So usually when and the other party wants to delay, your advocate would say, no, it's going to cost my client time and money. We don't have with the ones who have filed. If they have not filed documents, it's their problem, not ours, because there are time frames. So instead of that, they were not listening to us. So a friend of mine introduced to me, I told her, I'm really struggling because this is what's going on. I said, we don't have any money. All the money we had or managed to get, we've paid this law firm and hakuna mali tunaenda na wase. And in fact, they were not just supposed to deal with one case, they were supposed to deal with 3 and they never even bothered to file any appearance. So I said, here, we're not going to move. So my friend told me, I used to work at Ahmednasir Abdullahi. So he said, I can vouch for Ahmed. He will actually take your case. He said, your dad is the one who's suffered. Yes. So she introduced me to a junior associate at his office. I think he was called Nick. That's when his office was in town. Okay. It was like in 2019. So we sat down. I think this junior now gave our file to Ahmed. Ahmed said, oh, I've seen this case in the newspapers before. And he said, okay, I'm willing to take your case. What's going on? So he read the plaint. He said, it's very straightforward. There's not a lot of them. So it's my dad suing his brother saying, okay, our mom is not alive. I still own this company. What are the liabilities? What's going on in the bank accounts? What assets have you disposed of? Where are my titles? Like, I want my things, right? At least I have my kids now here to help me manage my things if I can't do it myself. And we thought what we're going was to enter a very straightforward process. Tumeenda kotini, tumelipa wakili, tutapatiwa haki. My guy. And again, that's why I tell you, my issue with Maraga is because there's a systematic issue that nobody wants to talk about. And I'm even sure talking about this, I can guarantee you all my cases in court will not move. But I'm done. I've been in this space for too long. I'm just like, kama ni vita. That's where we are right now. I'm just like, I'm not going to trust you with my sovereignty anymore because you can be bought. The same way we're talking about these politicians is what is happening in our judiciary. And it's not a joke. It's legitimately happening. So Ahmednasir, so we hired Ahmednasir. We had a hearing. So usually you get mentions. Mention is, have you complied with documents? Has the other side complied? And we used to go physically to all courts, all of them, present, so we can hear for ourselves what's happening. And lawyers, I don't know if people know this in Kenya, your lawyer is supposed to give you a brief every time they go to court on what happened. So we realized that if we were not paying attention and going to court, we'd not even be told. So like there's a time Ahmed went to court and said, I went to court and this and this and this. And we're just like, okay. So we called him and said, why did you go to court without not telling us? He said, you told me that you want this and this. I said, but we didn't tell you that we don't want to be in court. We hired you to be in court. So it seems like when you hire a lawyer, it's like case sasa yako inakuwa yao. They feel like they now own you. So now they're looking at the worth of what my dad is claiming. They're looking at the assets that his company has, and they're looking at he has no resources to fight. So how easy is it to take away this man's things? I mean, my uncles had already done it for over 30 years. So, you know, these guys, they have friends in the judiciary. They know each other. They're lawyers. They know people in lands. It's very easy. And I think the judiciary right now, I think is more dangerous than our politicians, if you ask me personally speaking. So so COVID happens and Ahmednasir tells us, hakuna case. There's no court. The courts had shut down. And it's true, the judiciary had given a notice that they are shutting down courts. And they even stopped receiving physical copies because they were now trying to deal with the e-filing system and, you know, go to digital. So in that time, I think COVID happened. I think ilikuwa hapo Jan, Feb hapo, sindo? Now, all these months, Ahmed was telling us, hakuna case. There's no court. We're still waiting to do COVID Nini. And then a friend of mine tells me, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Courts are open. Because we had hired Ahmed not just to deal with my dad's matter, but several matters because his siblings were now personally attacking me. I told you I got arrested. It was his siblings. So I said, okay, I want to sue these people. I want to sue the police. I want to sue ODPP. Like there's a bunch of people I want to sue because my rights are being infringed on. And we're willing to pay you from the compensation that we get from this company because the money is there. So as we're busy thinking, we're being represented and being told there's no courts. It's like the same way you take your car to a mechanic, you give him the car, you think he'll fix it, he'll bring it back fixed. But in reality, you don't know what's going on, and that's intentional. And even if you look at why they said Parliament had to be filmed, is because a lot of things happen in the darkness. When you ask why you still cannot film it in the judiciary, what are they hiding? Why can't you get your own transcripts from court? Why can't you get recordings from court? What are you hiding? You know? So during COVID, this friend of mine I was telling you told me, go and check in the court. So I went to the courts, and because I knew the faces in court, because I used to go all the time with my dad, I said, hey, what's going on? He said, hey, long time, we've not seen you. I said, I heard you're closed. There's a guy called Mr. Otieno. It's very good. I'll tell you, the staff in the judiciary, amazing human beings. Like, if you tell them, I want you to funga e-file, 99% of them would say no.
Mr. Otieno is who?
Mr. Otieno is, he works at the judiciary. In the commercial and tax division. He's a court administrator. So he's the one who, if you're looking for a file, he'll tell you, go here, he'll give you good service. So he's very good at his job. I'll tell you, most of the staff in the judiciary, amazing human beings from my experience. And so he tells me, your file is closed. So I looked at him and I was like, what do you mean my file is closed? He says, there's even a court order here. I told him, can you print that court order out? He printed it out and I nearly fainted. It was Ahmed. So the other party had given my dad a proposal for settlement, which we declined. They said, let's distribute the assets. Let's wind down the company. Let's accept liabilities. All of this stuff. We said, no, we want to know, first of all, what you have been doing with the money for this company for the last couple of years. So if we're going to distribute the assets, we know what you're not getting because we want our compensation. And legally, we should be compensated.
Yes.
So he went, and that consent was not drafted by us. And my dad was a plaintiff. It was drafted by the other advocates. And it was signed by our lawyer, Ahmednasir, another lawyer called Caroline Munyasia, who had, by the way, no clients. Hakuwa na clients kwa suit. Alikuwa na represent phantoms and ghosts, and another lawyer called Wanjiru Mwangi, who was also conflicted because she used to represent my dad before. So we are trying to understand. So you're looking at this consent, and it has been adopted as an order of the court. Kampuni imeenda, assets zimeenda, liabilities have been accepted, and they have even gone so far to distribute the estate of the deceased. Because my grandmother is a 25% shareholder. She's not alive. Na hana assets, there's no administration letters. This was done by 3 lawyers and a judge. And you're just like, what is the point of having all of these laws and the constitution if you're just going to come because you think you're somebody big in society, sign and take it to court? And if we did not know, how many other people are in court right now under the same circumstances? And I'll tell you, because we found a case where the same company, my dad's company, was suing one of our relatives to take their home, and we didn't know. And that person didn't know. They were sued ex parte. So when I'm telling you there's a serious issue in the judiciary, how can you sue somebody ex parte, collect their house, get it transferred to you, and they don't know? Simply by you lying and saying, I served them. Or they are aware. So for me, I'm just like, there are too many issues and loopholes.
So hii story yenyu hujaimaliza. So now what happened? So now your dad can't get any compensation. Like what happened?
So basically, usually if you get court orders, you think you have like 14 days to appeal. But see, they went and lied on our behalf, saying to be part and partisan and complacent. And I think my dad is not incompetent to do not sign his own documents. I have my dad's power of attorney, so if there's anybody signing, it's me or my dad. There's not a single signature of anybody that owns anything in that company on that court order. How?
So sasa, if things stay the way they are, munapata 0.
As it is, yes. So in fact, it gets worse. It doesn't get better from this point forward. So we confronted Ahmed about it, and then he fired himself. He terminated himself. So basically, ile shamba he went to gawanisha for my dad is like everything that is not prime. Umeniget? Like kuna shamba amepatiwa kwa kichaka. In fact, there are no roads to even enter. And you're just like, why would anybody rational agree?
Where is this other land?
So we have land in Kiambu, we have land in Laikipia, and we have land also in Karen. And like, for example, Karen, you cannot distribute, like, you can't subdivide land. You have to own at least an acre. You can't share it between 3 people or 4. So the things that they did, like even we have some apartments in Kangemi. Hizo apartments, walisema ni 25. Kwa ground ni 38. Now wanasema it's going to be equally distributed. My dad will get 4. Somebody who's not in his company will get 25. What happens to the other 9 apartments that have not been listed? Is it 9? 38? What happens to those other ones? Because they're physically built on the ground. So you're looking like, okay, so also what was the ELC for? Because I think when the Constitution, it specifically created Environmental and Land Court. Why? Because of all of this rubbish that used to happen in other courtrooms before. So you find people like Ahmed who understood how the system used to work, even the current judges in Moi's time, they have been given an opportunity to change it, and they have decided to do exactly what our current politicians are doing, to become the system. Ruto was complaining he's not the system. When he got the power, he just wanted to be exactly like Uhuru and Ruto and Raila. Everybody just wants that power. And I think that's the issue that we have, right? So we have handed this democratic system, and then we wrote to the deputy registrar, and we told the deputy registrar, we don't know who is in that consent. One of those parties is claiming that three parties are in our suit who are not. You have given them my dad's property. He wants to know how they have got. Strangers have been gawanishwa shambake na imegawanishwa aje na wakili. Yeah? Like how? This is a company. A company is a whole other entity from an individual. So after we wrote to the DR, he terminated his services. We agreed that he should be fired. We're just like, obviously, there's nothing we're discussing with you from this point forward. So we were dealing with a law firm called Walker Contos at the time, who are now dealing with my grandmother's succession. So her succession links to this 25% in this company. We told them, hey, you guys need to do something and tell the courts that this thing is also going to affect succession because we're still waiting for confirmation of grant from that one. They didn't do anything. So at this point in time, this happened, I think, we found out they signed that consent 20th September 2020. We found out 11th of November 2020. And then, so we terminated the services. We hired a guy actually before Walker Contos called S. Kionzo, and we told S. Kionzo and Walker Contos to work together. We said, you guys need to work together and inform the courts what's going on. Kionzo now, again, why I tell you I don't trust the judiciary and this fraternity that they call themselves. I think they're a cartel. They're not a fraternity. Kionzo now we gave him all the evidence. If you saw you know how unaweza patia mtu clean copy of like communication of termination of services. And then, you know these old photocopies where you can't see anything. All the evidence we gave him, he put in nicely apart from the correspondence that we had of why we're firing Ahmed. And we're just like, what are you doing? Why are you protecting this guy? We have come to you. As a lawyer, you should be able to put down your friendship barrier and be like, my client has a problem. It might be another lawyer who is my friend. Let me deal with my client problem. But that's not what happens in Kenya. They'll call each other and say, yo, nimeona hii and say, okay, fanya hivi. So that's what happened. So then we got rid of Kionzo. We told Kionzo, we have already dealt with this. We're not going to deal with this situation again. So Kionzo terminates. He goes to court. But that time we still didn't know how court links were operating online. He goes to court, fires himself. So the judge is just like, he's saying, oh, we can't work with them, they're unreasonable. We're just like, what is unreasonable about us telling you to put in clear evidence as your client? When we are saying we have been affected this way financially, why are you refusing to put in our financial claim? See, we're the ones who are affected. Bono nakata. Kama judge hataki evidence, si judge atatoa evidence. They'll say this is inadmissible. But you as our lawyer should not be a barrier to getting our information heard, you know. And luckily at that time, because I went to before that I'd gone to Madare. I used to go to before COVID to listen to some activists speaking about what's going on the ground, and I met Willy Mutunga. Very luckily for me, it was like by mistake, you know, when you go in by chance. So this is exactly when this story for Ahmed had happened, and my friend told me, "Don't talk to Willy. Willy and Ahmed were friends. Don't talk to Willy about Ahmed." So what I did is I tried to talk to Willy Mutunga about the judicial system. I said, unajua kama it's your boy, siwezi kuja ni kuambia stories zake sababu utasikia. So I said, let me just try and talk to him about what's going on in the judicial system. So we tried. So we hired Kionzo, terminated himself. Walker Contos came. So in courts, so the reason I touched on Willy Mutunga is because I want to relate to how I'm self-representing in court right now. So this guy, Kionzo, terminated himself, and then Walker Contos came on record. And so Walker Contos, we found a lot of also, they were doing what Rachel and Molo did, a lot of delaying tactics. And at this time, when they were delaying, my uncles now walikuwa wameshikilia shamba wameuza for another couple of hundreds of millions. So you can imagine we're already negative. And then these people are delaying your justice so you can continue being negative.
So is it delays?
Yes.
And wacha niweke disclaimer. It's not IKONINI views, but I have to ask the questions.
Yeah.
Why do you think these delays are there? Is it that the family ends up working with the lawyers?
Yes.
And these are the lawyers who are supposed to represent you, but they end up working with the family?
Correct.
Or because the family has money, but nyinyi mnatafuta pesa?
Correct.
Okay.
So you find out that you're already being sold. So imagine you're a victim and you just keep being victimized, right? So we go to Walker Contos, we tell them, these are the issues I've had with Kalonzo. We even shared the communication. We said, we told you guys to coordinate to speak to each other to get us in court so you can explain to the judge, because the judge could have done something called a stay. Agesimamisha your action, not even 6 months after it had been done. But wakaona opportunity wakule pamoja. So at that time, this is in 2021, me, I thought, for real, this is just, lawyers are just dirty. This has nothing to do with the judges. So we finally got, we wrote to Wakakonto. So there's something called a jurat. So a jurat is now a sworn affidavit. So when you're putting in a document in court, you're signing the sworn affidavit with the jurat, and you say, okay, so this is what I'm alleging. This is the evidence. Here's the sworn affidavit. It's supposed to be commissioned by a commission of oaths. So we had, I think, you have to serve at least 3 days before court so that they don't give the other side a mentioned date. Na sisi tumeshika rada. If you're served the day before or you respond the day before, the other side will ask for time and they'll be given at least 3 months.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
So we're just like, hey, if we don't serve these documents by this date, these guys will be given more time. So I told my dad, just sign the jurat, we pelek it to Okakontos, they will give us they'll give us the new pleadings as per instructions, because we wrote down the instructions as well. We made sure it was stamped. Everything was stamped and received by them. Do you know when we went to court now, this was 2021, walikuwa wamebadilisha pages zote, tuliagana na wao, wakeka nyuma. So we went and had several meetings with them, because you only sign one page, the last page, the jurat. That's the one that is commissioned. So everything else you don't sign. You know, since that day till today, we sign all our documents on all pages. All. Hand signed, and we write the pages by hand. Because we're just like, are you telling me that I can talk to you and then you can decide that you don't want to convey my truth to the judge and you will change my application? So what does that look like to the judge also? Like we're not being serious. Umeniget? So wanatucheza hakili sisi wote. And me, I told my dad, I actually remember I went into depression. I was drinking a lot, partying a lot. I just didn't want to be alive at that particular point in time. It is like 30 years. And then when you think you're getting to the finish line, you meet more monsters, you know? So somebody told me, write to GSC and write to the courts, file an application, all of this stuff. So again, that's why I was telling you about William Mutunga. William Mutunga told me verbatim that the reason they put in the Civil Procedure Order 9, Rule 1 and 2, and I think 3, allow you to self-represent because of those things, right? Article 22 also gives you the right, which obviously trumps civil procedure, the right to act on your behalf or anybody else's behalf. And the reason they put that in is because they know. They knew that people used to lose their assets like this, and people did not have an opportunity to speak in court. Again, this is how the Rigathi case came into play. Laymen, people from Kawaida, can go and speak to the courts because they hoped, if I come and tell you the truth, if I'm given an opportunity to tell you, then you can do something about it. But we have not yet gotten to that evolution yet. So that's why I say I don't trust Maraga, because he knows. It's not a rumor. You don't just know somebody is corrupt one day. People knew Ahmed was corrupt for a very long time. They didn't tell us. We didn't know as clients. Sisi ndo tulikuwa max. Mtu anatukona.
Mr. Supreme Court, I've not said that. It's those are not the views of IKONINI. Let's not meet in the Supreme Court because of that. So
ikonene soko US unatrai kutuma do Kenya, tumia LemFi. LemFi number 1 kupatiaga the best exchange rates. Alafu on your first $100 ilunatuma unabaki umepata $20 cashback. Alafu ukitumia the referral code ikonene, si wenyewe pia tunapata $20. So end up umesupport ikonene ndio tukue na better lighting. Cheki jo, saizi si unaona unzaniona. The last time niliduia day LemFi ulikuwa unaniona hivi. Was I this clear? And this is because of the other people who supported vilalitumia ile promo code ikonene ya LemFi. So baki umechangamka, ingia LemFi. Alafu saizi pia kitu poa, si lazima ubaki umeload wallet yako. Unaweza baki umeshikanisha debit card yako na LemFi. So kituma do ni instant, ikienda kule inaenda. Alafu kama kawaida pia kuna zero transfer fees, $20 cashback, una support ikonene. Alafu pia vile musemaga jo, LemFi international payments for everyone. Ikonene.
Yeah.
So you ni wewe, but I know kuna kuwaga na hizo I don't know about the corruption thing, but I know about the fake pupillage. He's been accused of that, and he's been accused of not being like a competent lawyer. Unajua, like he's a street lawyer. He's going to win new cases, I think even that's the reason why Bulimget, because he knows how to win cases.
Yeah.
And
Advertised as so. Kumbe, he's there to rob you. He's not there to win you cases. He's there to, he does this PR. He's a PR machine. Like, oh, I fight for the small guy. I fight for justice. He's a PR guy. I fight for the small guy. I fight for justice. I fight for the small people. No, he wants people like us who have been suffering, who have no hope. Umeniget? Ndo waende wamalize huko mwisho. And there's nothing you can do. And true to the word, if they're not ushered in that 2010 constitution and civil procedure order 9 rule 2 and 1, we would not have gone to court to tell the judge this.
Yes.
So guess what? So now we spent the whole of 2022 and 2023. Actually 2023. Because 2022, mi nilikuwa nimechukua beating. Nilikuwa nimekuwa defeated. Nilikuwa down. I said, sawa, it is what it is. I said, but the good, I said, whatever they've done, they've done. By the way, that judge was called Wilfrida Okwanye. She moved our ruling 7 times. And at the end of it, she said, your lawyer has not committed fraud. So you tell me, if I am coming to tell you, I didn't sign those documents, and you can see I didn't sign. And I can show you proof also that I didn't give my advocate instructions to sign my documents. How can you tell me he has not committed fraud? So then we realized these people are protecting each other. So ni kama sisi wa Kenya ni target, ni marksman. Umeniget? Kuko na mark hapo, tumset aje. So you call your boy, hey, tufanye hivi, nini. So they have to, the process is you have to create, and I think people saw it in Rigathi Gachagua, it has to look like it's fair. You have to, the optics. No, and it says something in Constitution. Justice has to be seen, to be done. Like, tudanganye kidogo munafanya kitu. But in reality, this is how they bypass all the processes and bureaucracy. This is how you steal. You're stealing our time. We have a bunch of neo-colonialists in politics in the judiciary. You're stealing our time. Why am I in court for 20 years when somebody like Rigathi 2 weeks? Why can't I get 2 weeks also? Why can't every other Kenyan? And you would find that a lot of things are moving. So what is going on? Tunashikiliwa na nini? You know? Okay.
So kesi yako sasa iko wapi?
So now I've started representing my dad. We filed documents in court. In court, that was, we got a ruling last year, 24th of May, 2024. And the judge was saying, you as somebody who has power of attorney, despite what the law says, you should ask me for permission first. So we're appealing that decision because we went and filed our own documents. We said from 2019, when this lawyer called Caroline Munyasea has been participating in court, we want everything struck out. Because Caroline filed an application for her clients to be put in the suit. Daniel sued 3 people. Somehow there are 6. How did that happen? Because there has to be a ruling. So we have told the Court of Appeal, we want you guys to look at what has been going on in this case file. And I will tell you also there, there's a lot of umama, let me just call it that, going on. There's a lot of dirty games that are still being played in the background. And I can also understand for sure that, as you have said, some information doesn't get where it needs to go. But for me, from my limited understanding, I know that these people all know each other and they know what they're doing and they know what's going on. Why are you not exposing this situation if you are pro-Kenyan and you're pro-democracy and you're pro-constitution and you're pro-life? Why are you not exposing these stories? Because people need to actually get out of this cycle. And so Ahmed now, nilikwambia sign all my dad's properties to go. Do you know he then went and filed a case in Kiambu claiming all of those properties as his?
Who?
Ahmednasir.
Properties za budako?
Hizo aligawanishia babangu. So alienda kusign, hakuwa na jali. Kama if it's he didn't care if it is by the roadside, if it's prime, he didn't care. He just said, yeah, just give them. So basically he signed to what the defendants wanted. He did nothing that we wanted. Na mi nilikuwa nauliza babangu, bona amefanya kitu hivi? Kuko na kitu ana target. He then went and filed in 2023 a lawsuit in Kiambu local courts claiming everything he had signed to go to my dad. He said he should be paid his fees. And then when we go to enter appearance in Kiambu law courts, we find another defendant who's not us. Sasa unashanga. One, you've already robbed us. You have cost us time. You've cost us money. We have not received justice over the last couple of years, despite coming to you who advertise yourself as a white savior and knight for, suffering Kenyans. And then you're going to go do that illegal consent, take it to another court, hire somebody to be the defendant, so we can't even defend ourselves in that courtroom to claim all the assets you've taken. And I'm just like, okay. Because I went to Kiambu myself to be mapped into that matter. I had to present them with my dad's power of attorney. I had to be there physically and I had to give him my ID. So nikawauliza, msee ni nani? Tukapata namba yake, nikaenda kwa Kiambu police station, nika-report pia to the Judicial Ombudsman. This is where again Willy Mutunga comes in. Willy Mutunga is the one who told me, I didn't tell him all these other things that were going on. I told him, I'm having an issue with system interference. He said, go talk to a guy called Kennedy Bidali, who's a Judicial Ombudsman. When we went and raised complaints with the Judicial Ombudsman, it's the same thing that happened with Advocates Complaint Commission. I will not say Law Society of Kenya because Law Society of Kenya told us, send it to Advocates Complaint Commission. So them it's like, when I say, no, you let those guys deal with it. So I again, I'm neither here nor there. So Advocates Complaint Commission and Ombudsman were now telling us another story. We wrote to them and told them, this is specifically what we're complaining about. Why are you telling us another story?
What's the other story?
They were telling us that, you guys are not the ones you're not the ones understanding. Your lawyer did not commit fraud. The judge said your lawyer didn't commit fraud. So I said, kwani the fraud has been committed against you? It's us. Sini sisi who agreed. Sini sisi tunakuambia. So how can you say it didn't happen? I said it happened. Are you going to investigate Ahmednasir? No. There's nothing to investigate. Judicial Ombudsman, there's no misconduct from the judge. I said there's no misconduct. Does the judge not know who the parties in a case are? See, they're listed. So the judge doesn't know that we did not sue those other people. So we're the plaintiff. Their names have never been in the pleadings. So judge hakujua. So you're just like, okay. So Ikitu is, we removed the power from Moi. We gave it to the legislator, to the executive, to the judiciary. And none of them are accountable or can be held to the law. That's a fact of the matter. So we need to ask ourselves as Kenyans, number one, do we really need an opposition? And I think the answer is no.
Yes.
I think Kenyans should always be the opposition. Because if Kenyans are always the opposition, these people will not be doing these things. Huwezi kutudanganya kukona justice na munajua ukora inafanyika kotini. Right now we could be sitting here talking, you own a car, somebody has gone to write a false claim, another lawyer is pretending to defend you and they can own your vehicle. No, nakid too, you know, in that story. How can that honestly be a legal process in this day and age? Hatuna democracy. That's how I feel.
So hii land yenyu ya Kiambu saizi, so are you still in court with Ahmednasir about the land?
Yes, we are.
Na ni land yenyu?
Yes, we are.
But he's saying it's his.
He is now saying he did his work well. We are the ones who didn't agree. He needs to be paid 200 million. We're just like, why would we pay you 200 million for you to undo any chance we had at justice? You know? What are we paying you for? Because you committed fraud against us. We're not happy. Yeah? And if we were happy, we even told him, can you produce to us the instructions we gave you to go do that in court? Show us when we agreed to any of these things that you're saying. So that if you aggrieved enyewe, we can say, enyewe, Ahmed did this and this and this for these people, they're okay. Kukona shamba babangu alipatiwa Kiambu. Unajua ni swamp. Marshland. What can you do on marshland? So his brothers have prime land on the tarmac. Ye meyaka kwa kichaka. Ni maji.
But sasa now Ahmednasir owns that also.
Now he's trying to claim that as his. He's saying he wants all of it. All of the things that he signed for, it belong to him. And I'm just like, bro, hizi ndio vitu zinaendanga.
Na saizi as things stand, nani kuna documents hizo vitu yeye?
No, my uncle still have the documents, the other directors, who we were suing. Because we said we want our documents, we want copies, we want to know what's going on. That's what we were suing them for. Him, he just went and said nothing. And again, if he was doing that for our benefits, we'd be happy. But when you're literally setting up your clients to fail so you can steal from them whatever they have left, it's like, how do you expect people to have hope in this country?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, Kojo. I don't think there's anything to add to this. Like, damn. Like, I always tell people, I always hear people saying, I'm going to sue you. I always tell them, the judiciary is ish. It's ish. Because there's no way the executive can be rotten. The legislative arm is rotten. Alafu ikue the judiciary is perfect. It has to be rotten to a certain level for it to coexist with these two other arms. Najua?
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised. Of course, these are not my views. So now, saa hizi, you don't trust lawyers, kabisa. You'll just always represent yourself peke yako.
Not even just lawyers, because we're in court of appeal, and so we filed our appeal in December. No, in September last year, 2024. So we filed our appeal. So when we filed our appeal, I didn't know, because I'm a layman, I'm still learning, the law and stuff like that. A friend of mine said, you have to file the appeal and the application together. But, the judiciary keep changing the things on the CTS system to also make it easy for them to give justice. So you have to file an appeal, which is the main appeal, which is we want everything struck out because we were not part of that. We have shown, we have proved. Tell us who these other people are and when they entered our suit, because we are suing. We should know who we are suing, And if they want to be sued, then formally put them on record. We sue them. Hakuna shida. Lakini mwezi sema na word of mouth ati muko parties, So that's what is pending. So we got an email in February saying that we're going to get some information on how to file our appeal. We filed our submissions. But this is where it gets interesting. The CTS system again. I kept getting messages last year around June. At 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I can show you. I'll send you the communication that we sent to the president of the Court of Appeal. Kukona mutu ni Sunday, 3 a.m. and I message your appeal has been rejected. So me, I'm just like, Allah, come and see the DR until your appeal has been rejected. So me, I'm just like, but I haven't appealed. This is June. You're given, I think, I think it is 60 days to file your appeal. But then that's also dependent on how fast you get your documents from the court. So they can give you like a certificate of delay. You have another 10 days, 5 days because you have not gotten the documents from the court. It's not your fault. So as we're going so now we filed the appeal because that was our time bound. You have 60 days. If you don't file it within that time, they won't. Your case is finished. When you get. So as we're filing now the application, tukaenda tukafungua CTS system, we saw 18. I don't know if you've seen the interface of the CTS system. I'll open it and show it to you. Tuliona 18 fields of documents that were there, all uploaded at the same time. And none of them are ours. So I told my dad, Zimi, I'm not filing. He said, what do you mean? I said, I was getting messages. We didn't understand who the messages are from. The judiciary were trying to convince us we're the ones who have put in those messages. I'm just like, C. So then at the same time, luckily, I had written to the IT department. Nilikuwa nataka nibadilishe password. IT department wakanitumia brand new password. So nikawauliza, are you telling me your user interface, you guys can reset my password without my knowledge? They said yes. So I said, so those documents that defendant that we found mapped in Ahmed's case, so ni mutu wenu mmemweka. Yeah? This issue of how we found other documents in the system, it's somebody on the inside doing that. Yeah. So as much as we think we are progressing with our democracy, why are these things not being talked about? Why is the judiciary not dealing with this issue? It's been almost a year now since we have complained. No, we complained in October last year. They have not done anything. Why? We still cannot file our application to get orders because they are telling us to delete. I said, why would I delete evidence on your system? I said, I want to know who put that evidence because it is my right to access justice. If somebody is interfering with that right, are they going to be prosecuted? Because I want to see them prosecuted. So you find it's a well-coordinated activity. I personally believe that there's a cartel. I think there's a land grabbing and a financial cartel in the judiciary. It works with people in the lands office, it works with policemen, and it works with judges and lawyers. That's what I believe. Because they are too organized, they're in every office of accountability. Because unadhani one complaint will go somewhere. Haendi. So who is this justice system serving? So it's like we give them this opportunity to be impune and they have done it. And they are more dangerous because they can do these things without your knowledge and consent.
Damn. Okay, so, wow. Because I think when we always think about rotten arms, we think about the legislative and the executive.
Yeah.
Like to be this, because sasa inamaanisha anyone who has a land case and it's prime land cannot even trust their own lawyers.
You can forget even your lawyers. It could be in court and you don't know. Shamba yako sahi inaweza uzwa kotini. There's fake documents being created about ati somebody owes me ati you borrowed a loan. They can create all fake documents with your own land and you can actually lose it. and you would not be involved in that story. How? That's what shocks me. I said, in this day and age, how?
Okay. Damn. Itabidi tumalizia tu hapa tu.
Wacha tumalize hapa.
Your story yako ni depressing and it's scary. It's really scary. And I'm not surprised with the characters. I always look at Nani Ahmednasir. I always say like I looked at him aki-argue ile case ya IBC versus akina Raila, and he argued like the way I'd argue, and I've never been in I've never gone to wajusturia huyu mtu upenda kucomplain, we kwa nini unapenda kucomplain? That's not how a lawyer should argue.
No.
So I know that. Alafu I heard about the fake pupillage from Nelson Harvey. So najuaga hiyo side where he's not, but I thought that since he's an inside man and he knows the system, at least he wins for his clients. Najua. So I've always said that if I had a case, he'd be the guy that I'd go for, because as much as the system is rotten, he'd know how to kumbe. Damn.
Don't trust your lawyer. I will tell you that. I think even the first time I saw lawyers perform was in Rigathe's case. I have just been witnessing nonsense for the last 6 years. And even this history ya vile Kenya Ruto walito kesi zao haziko criminal, I've understood also how the DPP works. It's the same thing. May I had a case where somebody assaulted me, and they just mentioned the case for 5 years. I can show you. They just kept mentioning. When we tell them to summon the police, they don't summon the police. Why? Why is the ODPP and the Judiciary refusing to summon the OCS of a police station if his police officer is refusing or withholding evidence? Why? You know? Wakacheza hiyo kitu, and then they withdrew my case last year. And the prosecutor cited that suji public interest. I said, I am the one who got beaten up. I am the one who was in hospital. I am the one who has been showing up to court for the last 6 years. What's this thing called? The person who assaulted me hasn't shown up to court. I've been asking you to summon the police to arrest her. You decided that I am the one who doesn't deserve justice after 5 years. So I said, I understand exactly how Kenya Ruto and all these other thugs in government have been there. It is a well-coordinated scene, for sure.
IKONINI.
IKONINI.